First, you heard Katie Wilson dismissing the upper brackets, which creates millions of jobs.
It wasn't that long ago that we were talking about an Amazon tax or a head tax that morphed into what is called the Jumpstart tax, a payroll tax on big businesses that was earmarked to be used for homelessness housing in the Green New Deal that the mayor now wants to lean on to fill a gaping budget gap.
Yeah, so I'm proud of the work that I did on the city budget in 2020 on the Jumpstart tax, which again was the reason why the mayor's been able to balance his budget for the last 4 years. And then in 2023, I served on the Seattle Revenue Stabilization Work Group, which was tasked with researching the city's progressive revenue options because we already knew in 2023 that we had a massive structural budget shortfall widening.
Yeah, keep in mind, even with that waterfront success, right now the office vacancy rate in Seattle hovers over 33%.
And Amazon, the last time they were targeted out for taxation, they took 10,000 jobs. They moved them out of Seattle. I think they're going to continue to do that under this mayor.
I do think that we will need to pursue new progressive revenue in order to fund our priorities and make sure that we're delivering services to the people of Seattle. There's several progressive tax options I proposed as part of my platform, and so we're going to have city staff looking into developing those into legislation. Don't know yet exactly what the timeline is going to be on that.
Seattle's got a $500 million, a $500 million deficit for the next 3 years. Seattle's also got a socialist mayor, which Seattle voted into office. Zero experience. Should work out fine, right? So what's the game plan moving forward? Game plan? Raise taxes. We're going to do any budget cuts? No. No. To the moon go the taxes. Let's get into it. Here we go. I think it'll work out fine, don't you? I mean, when you hire a person who has zero experience to run a city that has a almost $9 billion budget, 41 departments, and thousands and thousands and thousands of employees, and the person running the show, a CEO, has less experience than a janitor, it should work out fine. It'll be good. I mean, just Google it. It'll be okay. Watch a couple of YouTube videos. Financial solvency, right? Yeah, just pick up on that. You'll be good. Yeah, it'll be fine. Seattle will be fine. Today, reading from Cairo, Charlie Harger. Seattle's budget deficit is nearly $500 million. Mayor Wilson's plan is more taxes and no meaningful cuts. There is one section in here that is, if you didn't know better, you'd think it was satire. Because the answer to the question is the opposite, and yet it's the answer. Seattle's facing a projected budget deficit, $488 million next 3 years. So 5 months into the job, Mayor Katie Wilson, she's facing numbers that are $113 million worse than what her predecessor left behind. Things are getting worse. Things are not getting worse. So she went on this Seattle channel last week to explain how the city got there and what she's going to do moving forward. She brought in budget director. This is budget director, the person responsible for directing the budget, Ali Panucci. She asked for the cameras. To her credit, she didn't have to do this publicly, but it was just one more example of, did they really just say that? Then moderator Brian Callahan asked a simple question. Here's the simple question. This is the crux of this podcast. Does it mean the city is spending beyond its means? Tax revenue is here. Spending is here. All the social programs, all the ridiculous nonsense, all the climate, homelessness, just absolute crap is here. And you got cops and fire department, you know, that basic stuff. Revenue, expenses, okay? Does it mean the city is spending beyond its means? Panucci's answer was remarkable. Here it is. I don't think it's spending beyond the means. We're delivering services that people need. Services are more than our property taxes, our sales taxes, and the fees that support the city. Again, let's recap. I don't think it's spending beyond the means. It's just that our services, our expenses, are more than our revenue. This is literally how you drive a city into the ground. That is the crux of how cities go down, because they're run by people that don't understand basic math. Basic math. How much are you bringing in? $1. How much are you spending? $10. You going to do anything about it? No. All right. How's that going to work out? Believe what I'm telling you. Don't believe the reality. Don't believe the books. Don't believe the bank statements. And here's the excuse. She blamed the state's 1% cap on annual property tax increases. It's those damn limits on how much we can raise. Inflation has significantly outpaced 1%. So make adjustments. Cut some programs. You got millions of them in there you don't really need. How about all of the funding for criminal illegals? How about the Somali welfare fraud? Let's claw some of that back. We know it's Seattle. We got a big Somali population. Let's claw some millions back in funding for the fraudulent Somalis. What about that? Yeah, let's do that. Nah, we can't do that. Diversity is our strength. Okay. How much is your budget deficit? How much is your revenue? The costs exceed the revenue. She said no, and then described yes in the same breath. If you want to watch her say that, go to the beginning of this article. Carter, Seattle's budget deficit, nearly $500 million. Mayor Katie Wilson's plan, no more taxes, no meaningful cuts. Video is here, and he's got the footage right there of all this. We're going to blame it on inflation. Oh, it's inflation. Could you imagine showing up to some kind of financial hearing in front of, shareholders, and the shareholders ask, the company's nearing bankruptcy and your expenses way exceed your revenue. And you said to a group of shareholders, oh, the inflation just got away from us. We didn't know what to do. Just inflation. Everything started costing more. Then you got to dial back. But these are people that have never run a business in their life. And everybody's painfully aware. Painfully aware. They all run, non-governmental organizations. And we all know what that means. It's basically just grift. A whole bunch of money out the window. That's why all these programs suck so much money. That's why the Somalis love it. Because they're not qualified to do anything. So grift. Open up a daycare. Open up a Leering center, right? The mess belongs to Wilson's predecessors. What she does with it belongs to her. True, 100% true. You know who's a really good example of that? Daniel Lurie down in San Francisco. He's cleaning things up. They keep calling him a progressive making conservative decisions. And he is. His homelessness has absolutely dove. I mean, he's doing work. He's doing work. And it's like, what is going on down there? Did he put something in the water? Are they getting their water from Texas? Are they getting their water from Florida? Nah, he's just making some good decisions. He's making some of the housing dependent upon getting sober. He's turning it over to faith-based organizations. Hey, you need Jesus in your life. And these people, the whole drug addiction thing is, I believe it's strongly a spiritual battle. How you handle it, it's kind of up to you. I don't think it's a bad idea to have faith-based stuff. I mean, what could go wrong, right? I mean, what could go wrong? We're seeing what Seattle does with, getting rid of churches and calling people that read the Bible right-wing extremists, just basically tanking any kind of religion. I don't think bringing religion into, addiction is necessarily a terrible thing. They had 12-step programs based on, a higher power? What could hurt, right? What could it hurt? You got a bunch of whacked out meth addicts with rotting out teeth, and then you've got Mayor Karen Bass down in L.A. saying, oh, they need teeth. They can't succeed without teeth. We got to get them some teeth. Right. Yeah, because then they'll stop doing meth. It's like giving people that are homeless and whacked out on drugs, doing the Fetty, housing and thinking, well, that'll do it. Stop. I mean, they'll stop. Can't stop, won't stop, right? Wilson had never run a government agency, never overseen a budget beyond a 2-person nonprofit. It's okay. She's qualified. I mean, it's okay. The Transit Riders Union. Sounds like some kind of Civil War thing, right? On election night, she's told reporters nobody saw this coming. Like, she was shocked and surprised that she won. But what happened is Seattle folks live in a bubble. They live in this crazy, whacked out, trans, just tech bubble. And they don't understand that other cities run things differently, and they're far more successful. Okay, sitting in their own crap. And so when their own crap says, Katie Wilson said she's going to make it more affordable because people are getting fired left and right, tech industry is taking a dive, expenses have gone through the roof, taxes haven't covered it. What are you going to do? You just writing on the wall. Seattle is absolutely, it's going to be spectacular. And I don't mean a fireworks on 4th of July type of spectacular. I mean, somebody let off a box of fireworks inside of their bedroom, and then their older brother had to be called in to clean up the mess. That kind of spectacular. Yeah. Now she oversees 41 city departments, 13,000 employees, and a budget of $8.9 billion. What could go wrong? Wilson's revised projections show deficits of $175 million in 2027, $164 in 28, $149 in 2029. And they're at the same time, they're roughly diverting $200 million a year from the Jumpstart payroll expense tax. That is tax Amazon. That basically, it was created in 2020 to fund affordable housing. Oh, how's that going? Homelessness just skyrocketing. Green New Deal programs. Don't need them, cut them. And economic resilience. How's that working out? A lot of your companies are moving their employees to Bellevue. How's that working out there, numbnut people? Numbnut socialists in Seattle? What could go wrong, right? Wilson confirmed the real number on camera. The only reason why it's 150 to 200 million, we'll call it 175, budget deficit for the next year, instead of 400 million is because of the transfers from Jumpstart we've been started doing year after year. They're taking money from these programs. They're supposed to be doing homeless stuff and covering the budget. Even if we wanted to paper it over with one-time fixes, we're kind of out of tools. This is a really, really interesting interview because they're just basically laying it out on the table, saying, we've got no answers. Here's what we're doing. We're going to raise taxes. And you know what, folks? Only reason we've only got a $175 million deficit for the next year is because we're robbing Peter to pay for Paul. And she was one of the ones that authored a report on the progressive tax option and got the Jumpstart tax going. The tax she championed to build housing is now keeping the general fund afloat. Rather than working to restore it, she's proposing new taxes on top of it. Wild. General fund grew from roughly $1.1 billion in 2016 to $2 billion today. Christine Gregoire, now is the city of Seattle. General fund. Christine Gregoire, who was governor from 2005 to 2013, she said the Washington state budget had grown from like $33 billion to $90 billion, something like that, $85 billion. And she matter-of-factly said, spending's out of control. Got a supermajority here in Washington state, got a supermajority in Seattle. You'll never get a Republican. You'll never get a conservative elected to anything of significance. You know, what conservatives are always relegated to the back of the bus. Or, hey, go ride the short bus. You're a conservative. So Panucci coined her own term for how Seattle has handled this. Triage budgeting. This is the budget director. Our expenses. Yeah, we just got so many of them. And, you know, we can't afford them. So it'd be great. Should be great. Let's double down on taxes for businesses. All right. So when the businesses all basically They're already not investing anymore here. Nobody's investing anymore in Seattle. Those that are leaving can leave, in spite of everybody, including the guy who wrote the millionaire tax bill, saying, it's overblown, the millionaires are leaving. They'll all stay. That's just not true. It's simply not true. And here we are. And everybody's looking around. Well, how are you going to fix it? Triage budgeting. It's crazy. City of Seattle received more than $300 million in federal relief during the pandemic, 25 new programs. Now all that money is gone. The cash ran out. The spending didn't. Okay. It's like being married to somebody who's a real cash cow. Guy makes $1 million a year. You get a divorce. Your alimony, your spousal support runs out after 5 years, and you're still flying around in the Lamborghini. I got to keep the Lambo. I mean, who doesn't have a Lambo? Yeah, but you're single and you have no more income. You own the Lambo. That's what we're doing. When pressed on whether anything could be cut, Panucci said, all these dollars matter to someone there that are going out the door. Okay. Yeah, that's not relevant. Don't care. You can't afford the Lambo. Got to take the Lambo back. It's delivering a service. It's providing access to a class. All the money's going to a class? No. Yeah, but that's an example of just the silliness. Oh, a class, great. That sort of thing that matters to someone. Speaking of classes, I watched Jonathan Cho walk into a library class in Seattle on harm reduction, on, how to get needles and shoot up, and how to use tinfoil to smoke the fatty, and, how to be a safe drug abuser. This is City of Seattle library. And they closed down the meeting. Didn't want to have Jonathan Cho show video footage of the stupidity of harm reduction. Harm reduction is right in there with housing first. The policy, if we just take all these whacked out meth addicts and throw them in housing, it's going to be good. Not how it works. It's almost as bad as the first podcast I did today, which was Mayor Bass came right out and said, the reason that meth addicts aren't successful is because they don't have teeth. If we just get them some teeth, those people are going to succeed. Their wings, they're going to drop the drugs. Hey, got new teeth? Let's go. Give me that job. Let me go out and get my MBA. I'm going to go work on Wall Street now that I got new teeth. So I don't think that we're overspending, the budget director says. It's that our needs and our costs are more than our revenues can support right now. Not overspending, revenue, not meeting expenses. This is how you bankrupt a city. This kind of logic, this kind of leadership. I mean, tell me how that makes any sense whatsoever. Tell me how you spin that. How do you spin that to me? Spin that to me somehow. I want to hear it. I'd love to hear how you spin. We're not overspending. Our costs just aren't being met by revenue. That is the quintessential definition of overspending. It's reducing it to its most base level. You don't have enough income. You got to close the business down. Except you can't do that with the government because people depend on it. So what do? Yeah, you raise those taxes. Because you're socialist here. I mean, we got a statue of Lenin in Seattle, in Fremont. You guys want to see the Lenin statue in Seattle? I mean, what in the F is a Lenin statue doing in Seattle? And we're not talking John Lennon, right? Imagine all the people. No, it's not that. It's the guy who killed like 20 million people. Yeah, that guy. Let's put a statue up because, we want to. That's what we support here in Seattle. So I've been a big proponent of progressive revenue, taxing wealthy people, taxing businesses. So we're definitely looking at all the options. Capital gains tax is absolutely on the table. That's perfect. But the revenue would be modest from that, probably in the lower double digits. Okay, lower double digits would mean 40 million, 30 million, 20 million, something like that. Okay. University Forum, she said she'd be very interested in a local income tax on Seattle residents if state law allowed it. I'm sure she would. Washington voters have rejected income taxes 11 times because it's unconstitutional, it's illegal. But hey, let's give it a run because, you know, our budget isn't matching up with our revenue. Panucci confirmed revenues dropped in the latest forecast. I mean, the obvious revenue tools that cities have available to them tend to be regressive. Well, not if you live within a budget. You know what's regressive? You know what's regressive? $1.10 per gallon in gasoline taxes. 55 cents to the Climate Commitment Act, 55 cents of straight up tax, and another 8 cents of just absolute bullshit. That's regressive because everybody's got to drive a car. And all those people making $15 an hour, they got to fill up with gas that's over $6 a gallon here in Washington State right now. I think the average cost across the state is $5.79. I'm going to show you next week. I'm going to be down there visiting my mom and dad, my mom's 85th birthday. Let's go to a gas station. I'll go fill my parents' car up. I'll surprise them. Hey, Mom, get out of the way. I'm going to fill up your car. She'll love that. Let's see how much it costs to fill up my mom's Mitsubishi or whatever it is. That's regressive, is massive gas taxes. That's Washington logic. That is Seattle logic. These are regressive. No, they're not. They're not. Wilson drew a hard line on dropping the homelessness spending. There's no world in which we need less funding for homelessness because the homeless people are offsetting the population out migration. And homeless people are, you know, you're going to use them for the census. And that's propping up numbers in Seattle. So all the big blue Democrat cities know this. So they all want to keep all that funding for the homeless industrial complex. Result, cutting anything for homelessness, hard no-go. Now, if they did, say they did 50% cut to the homelessness programs, what do you think the homeless would do? They cut our funding? Portland still got lots of funding. Portland. That's what would happen. Homelessness would just because if you build it, they come. And if you don't, they won't stay. They're going to go somewhere. They're not dumb. What homeless drug addicts whacked out on drugs do. They work the system. So it's absolutely, the article goes on to talk about homelessness. You know, there's so many different angles to this. Katie Wilson, I'm not buying Starbucks and neither should you. And then in April, she told a Seattle audience that millionaires who leave over our taxes can wave goodbye. And Charlie, at the end of this, he basically says, let's get down to it. Wilson inherited this deficit. Previous mayors and councils built it, but 5 months in, her answer is every new tax she can find, no meaningful cuts, a housing fund that doesn't fund housing, a boycott of one of Seattle's most iconic employers, and a wave goodbye to the taxpayers whose revenue she needs. Here's the ending, which I think is great. At some point, they wave back. Bye. Bye. And that's what you're seeing in the thumbnail for this podcast. Bye. That will happen. I mean, there's no doubt about it. That will happen because people aren't going to sit here and just, you know, a certain portion of the population will go, I ain't sticking around. I'm not sticking around. No, I'm not doing that. This doesn't make any sense. People going into retirement. Hey, these new taxes are really eating into my fixed income. Know what I mean? Normal people, working people putting kids through college, people, dual income families that have to have dual incomes. Hey, what other states can we go to? We're going to take a pay cut, but what other states can we go to and do lifestyle arbitrage, which is what I'm doing? What state can I go to where things are way cheaper, won't have the mountains, won't have the ocean, won't have the lakes, won't have the pretty aesthetics, but also won't have the taxes, won't have the $6 plus a gallon gas when Oklahoma has gas in the threes. Where can we do that? That's what's happening right now. Those are the conversations happening right now. Meanwhile, Katie Wilson and the budget director, yeah, they've got plans, right? We've got plans. Not going in the right direction, not on solid financial footing. This is a company, if Seattle were a company, it would be teetering, it would be junk bonds, it would be penny stocks. Make sure you subscribe, hit that notification bell. I'll see you in the next episode. Thanks for joining. Bye for now.